23 degrees. Here's what's making news this hour.
Keeping an eye on Lee. We'll hear from the Canadian Hurricane Center as some models predict a close call for Atlantic Canada.
A 12-year-old is arrested after a teen in Middle Sackville is stabbed. The victim expected to recover.
Nova Scotia had a record number of suicides last year. We talked to a clinical psychologist about what the province needs to do to reduce that number going forward.
And coming up later,
transgender rights advocates are calling on Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to reject policies passed at his party's convention that they say could cause serious harms to trans or gender diverse children.
The first of four between the Blue Jays and Rangers goes at Rogers Centre this evening, and the AFC East is in the spotlight as the Bills and Jets head to MetLife Stadium. Sports at 45.
North American markets are well into the green, including the TSX by more than 120 points, thanks in part to cannabis stocks. And the Dow is up more than 100 points. Business at 56.
Traffic for Sportsnet. It begins with a wave of anticipation. All hockey fans wonder, is this going to be their year? The NHL on Sportsnet. October 10th, be here.
City News Time, 3:31.
It's time for Carson Exports, traffic and weather together on the ones, and with Halifax's most frequent traffic reports. Good afternoon, Jamie Montgomery.
Good afternoon. We've got some volume delays right now on Windmill Road at Acreley Boulevard. Seen some slowdowns right now on Hammonds Plains Road approaching the Bedford Highway. Delays right now on Bears Road into Connaught. Increased volume right now on the Armdale Roundabout coming from Joseph Howe Drive. We've got construction to be aware of. South Street is closed from Oxford Street to the dead end for construction going on until 6 tonight. Your next Nissan is in stock and ready to roll. Visit Nissan.ca or your local Nissan dealer for more information. With a look at the forecast, here's weather specialist Denise Andriacci.
Some light rain and a few scattered showers across the region for the commute. We're keeping an eye on the radar for some thunderstorms to develop as well, so just be mindful of that. It was, of course, such a hot and very summer-like weekend, but we've done a role reversal with our weather pattern, and there's more showers in the forecast for Tuesday as well. Highs tomorrow near 23. Our overnight low tonight, 18.
And right now in downtown Halifax, it is 22 degrees. It's 23 at the airport. We'll have another check of traffic and weather together in less than 10 minutes. City News Time, 3:33.
Forecasters at the Canadian Hurricane Center continuing to track Hurricane Lee as Nova Scotians also keep a close eye on that storm's track. Lee is currently a Category 3 hurricane just north of the Caribbean, expected to strengthen today before gradually starting to weaken as it moves to the north.
Meteorologist Ian Hubbard says Nova Scotians should be aware of the forecast, but don't panic as there are still many questions about the track.
Level of uncertainty after 6 days, it's too much. So we see it could go anywhere from New England, or it could even pass east and potentially east of Newfoundland at this point. So that's kind of where we're at with what we're seeing from the models and the ensembles that we use. And as we get closer to the event arriving, that will narrow down, and then we'll start to really focus in on where it's going to go.
Now, Hubbard says Lee is forecast to re-intensify and could become a Category 4 storm again over the next 24 hours before that gradual weakening kicks in as it turns to the north. He says by Wednesday, forecasters should have a clearer idea of whether Lee will pay a visit to Nova Scotia, likely on the weekend if it does come our way. This is City News. Well, in the other news of the day, a 12-year-old has been arrested and charged, accused of stabbing a teen in Middle Sackville. The Mounties say officers were called to reports of the stabbing on Millwood Drive around 7:30 last night. Those officers arrested the 12-year-old girl who had allegedly stabbed a 15-year-old. The victim's injuries are serious, police say, but not life-threatening. The 12-year-old has been released on conditions while awaiting a court appearance. The Nova Scotia government launching a 12-month pilot program which will see private practice psychologists carry out diagnosis for autism spectrum disorder in preschool and school-aged children. And the province is providing $500,000 for that program, which will see psychologists be reimbursed on a fee-for-service basis. Children and adolescents on public wait lists for the services will be eligible for this program. Cynthia Carroll, the director of Autism Nova Scotia, says there are currently children waiting for months or even years to be diagnosed. She said the pilot program will help more families access the service. Well, a Halifax-based psychologist is calling for improvements to the healthcare system that he says would help reduce record suicide rates in Nova Scotia. City's Steve Gow explains.
Dr. Simon Sherry with Crux Psychology says recently released data from the province indicates 155 Nova Scotians died by suicide last year. That's the highest ever recorded. In particular, he says wait times to see psychologists are alarming. While Dr. Sherry commends the current government on paying attention to health in general, he tells City News Nova Scotia needs to do more about suicide.
We need a funded suicide prevention strategy that involves real timelines. There are many other examples where if you engage in what science tells us helps prevent suicide, the suicide rate drops.
He says that includes using targeted intervention methods that reduce a suicidal person's access to lethal means. He also says people need to debunk myths about suicide in general, adding that will ultimately help bring suicide numbers down in Nova Scotia. Steve Gow, City News.
South of the border now, and Americans are looking back on the horror and legacy of 9/11 today. People gathered at the memorial in New York City, the U.S. Department of Defense, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to observe the 22nd anniversary of the deadliest terror attack on U.S. soil.
James Giacconi, whose brother Joe was killed at the World Trade Center on 9/11, is helping read the names of the nearly 3,000 being remembered there.
Me and other family members come every year to hear loved ones' names spoken. If their name is spoken out loud, they don't disappear.
His brother lives on in his memory and the memorial.
When the plane hit his building, Joe disappeared.
Giacconi, like many of the other families, have no remains to bury. He wants to make sure 9/11 remains sacred.
I hope it never ends. It's a solemn day. It's important to remember that day. It's a day that changed history.
Julie Walker, New York.
City News Time, 3:37. Well, back in this country now, transgender rights advocates are calling on Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to reject a pair of controversial policies passed at his party's convention over the weekend. And they're aiming to ban gender-affirming care for trans and gender-diverse youth, and to essentially block trans people from using bathrooms under than the sex they were assigned at birth. City's Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney with more.
The policies are being called appalling by Faye Johnstone with the Society of Queer Momentum. She believes politicians should not be dictating legitimate medical care and tells me these policies will most likely spark more discrimination against trans people and youth and do some serious harm.
Trans and gender diverse young people are more likely to struggle with mental health and have significantly higher rates of suicidality and attempts.
So she's calling on Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to reject the proposals since as leader he's not bound to adopt them. Daniel Ballon, the head of Canadian Studies at McGill, tells me it's a political tightrope for a Conservative leader.
I show to the social conservatives that yes, he listens to them, to their voice, but at the same time he's able to pick and choose really the policies that he thinks will resonate with Canadians.
Blunt thinks Poilievre's popularity in his party gives him some wiggle room to not act on social conservative issues and not face a revolt. He expects him to punt responsibility to the provinces, but also expects Liberals and New Democrats to use this against the Conservatives in the political arena. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his Canadian delegation are grounded in New Delhi after experiencing technical issues with their plane, but he's expected to head back to Ottawa tomorrow.
The lockdown has lifted in New Delhi, businesses are open, and the military blockades that surrounded the city for the G20 summit have been removed. The world's most powerful leaders left yesterday, but for Trudeau and his Canadian delegation, they remain stuck. His plane is experiencing mechanical issues that need fixing, delaying Trudeau's return to Ottawa. Government sources say a technician is on its way to deliver the part needed and fix it. The Canadian Armed Forces also have 2 backup planes waiting in London for Plan B and Plan C. Mickey Judich, The Canadian Press, New Delhi.
City News Time, 3:39. And back here at home quickly, an official with the Canadian Cancer Society of Atlantic Canada is sounding the alarm about youth vaping rates in Nova Scotia. Heather Mulligan is the Cancer Society's manager of advocacy and says there is a lack of action by the provincial government to do something about it. Data from Statistics Canada is showing a third of high school students in the province are vaping. Almost 55% report having tried it at least once. Mulligan says the society wants the province to pass legislation that would raise the age that people can legally access vape products from 19 to 21. Coming up in 60 seconds, we'll have traffic and weather together and a look at the latest in business news with the Market Minute. City News Time, 3:40.
With our busy lives, we don't always have time to deal with computer issues. Hi, I'm Barry Ring, owner of Mac East. If your Mac requires service, stop by anytime with questions about your Apple product. We want to hear from you. No appointment, no standing in line. Just drop off your Mac and your computer stays with our in-house technicians until it's fixed. Remember, we don't also do Macs, we only do Macs.
Contact your authorized Apple reseller, Mac East, corner of Ochterlony and Victoria Road, Dartmouth, and at maceast.ca.
Home is where we feel connected. As we age, we sometimes need a little extra support to stay in our homes. The Seniors Care Grant provides $750 towards healthcare service and household services, including home heating. For information, call toll-free 1-800-670-4357 or visit us online at novascotia.ca/seniorscaregrant. Applications close March 31st.
Traffic for TSC. Discover the 14-karat gold crossover band from Diamond Show at TSC. Shop and save over 35% today only at tsc.ca. Exciting offers every day.
City News Time 3:41. Time for Carson Exports, traffic and weather together on the ones. And with a look at Halifax roads, here's Jamie Montgomery.
Good afternoon. We've got reports of a minor collision on North Street just before Barrington Street. We've got minor delays on both the McDonald and the McKay Bridge in and outbound. Slowdowns right now on the Armdale roundabout coming from St. Margaret's Bay. Also seeing slowdowns on Bears Road into Connaught, starting to get some volume right now on the Bedford Highway just after Bayview Road into the Windsor Street Exchange. With a look at the forecast, here's weather specialist Denise Andriacci.
Mostly cloudy for this commute. We do still have some wet weather impacting us here across the region. So just drive according to the changing weather conditions. There is the risk for isolated storms. They're hit and miss, but they will produce the heavier downpours. Overnight, some fog develops. We're down to 18, so it's a mild start to Tuesday, but still a bit unsettled. Mostly cloudy tomorrow with some scattered showers. Highs near 23. Our overnight low tonight, 18.
And right now in downtown Halifax, it is 22 degrees. It's 24 at the airport. City News 95.7 is the only radio station with a weather guarantee, and today's City Mazda jackpot stands at $1,450. For your chance to win, you can head to our website, halifax.citynews.ca, and follow the links. City News Time 3:42. Now it's time for a Market Minute brought to you by Dynamic Funds.
A Monday moneymaker in the works. Both sides of the border looking at some decent gains, with Bay Street up 117 points, 20,192. A mix in the various sectors, but gold, financials, as well as some healthcare stocks, especially those cannabis stocks, helping to carry some weight here, with shares in Canopy Growth up more than 60%. Tilray up by 8% as well. We do have energy stocks in the red for the most part. Oil right now down 30 cents, but still at over $87 US the barrel, while gold futures moving to the plus side by $3, 1,946 the ounce. Our loonies up by more than 0.3 cents, 73.65 cents US on a weaker US dollar. US markets in the green, with the Nasdaq in the lead up 160 points, the S&P gaining 30, and the Dow Jones up 107. At the City News Business Center, I'm Ari Rupinovich.